Hey everyone, welcome to Logan's Mosh Pit. Glad to have you here. So today we're going to continue the Breaking Down Songs series, the place where we take a look at some of my favorite songs from all kinds of different bands. And the reason why we do that is so we can gain a deeper appreciation for the music we listen to. So today we're going to cover my absolute favorite band, Def Leppard. If there's a specific band you guys want me to cover in a future video, leave a comment down below. If I like the band and I'm pretty familiar with their discography, I'll probably do it. So without further ado, let's get started. So since Def Leppard has released a ton of albums over the years, I'm just going to tell you guys what my favorite song is from my top 5 albums by Def Leppard. Then we'll go from there so you guys can see how I narrowed down my list to my favorite song. So from their debut album, On Through the Night, I chose the spectacular song Satellite. From the High and Dry album, I picked Mirror Mirror, Look Into My Eyes. From Adrenalize, I chose the outstanding tribute song to Steve Clark, White Lightning. From the massively successful Hysteria album, I picked Rocket. And finally, off my favorite Def Leppard album, Pyromania, I chose Foolin. And that's the song we're going to talk about today. So first off, I want to give you guys some background on the Pyromania album. It came out in 1983, and it was a pretty big success. It went diamond in the US for selling over 10 million copies. It had the singles Photograph, which is arguably the band's most well-known song. Then you have Rock of Ages, great song. Of course, Foolin, and then Too Late for Love, very underrated song. This was the first time Phil Collins stepped in as their new guitar player. He took the place of Pete Willis. Some people were happy about, some weren't. And then, of course, you have the legendary producer Mutt Lange to thank for the outstanding production quality of this album, because he was well known for his attention to detail. He never settled for less than perfection. He would stick with Def Leppard all throughout the 80s, starting out on High and Dry, continuing all the way through Hysteria. Now, the first 2 Def Leppard albums were very heavy albums. In their later albums, post-Hysteria, they kind of took a 360-degree turn. Those albums were a lot more catchy, radio-friendly type of tunes. A lot more smooth and less raspy than their earlier albums. And that divided the fan base quite a bit. Some people preferred the earlier Def Leppard on their first 2 albums. Some preferred post-Hysteria. Personally, I like them both. So, Pyromania was in the middle of those 2 eras, the early Def Leppard and the later Def Leppard. So I've always thought of Pyromania as kind of like a hybrid album. It's the best of both worlds, a mixture of both eras of Def Leppard. You have the traditional Def Leppard from their first 2 heavy albums, and then you combine that with the more mainstream Def Leppard after Hysteria. You can hear both mixing together in this album. Of course, Hysteria became an enormously successful album. It was considered the peak of Def Leppard's career by many fans, and that, like it or not, would overshadow every other album, including this one. But I think Pyromania is a really nice album. It's balanced. and it'll please the whole fan base. Of course, you had some songs from this album, Pyromania, that contributed to the rise of MTV. You had certain music videos for the singles Foolin, Photograph, and Rock of Ages, which really helped usher in that area, before it became immensely popular. Def Leppard was one of the first to really break through on MTV, get attention to it. And after Pyromania was released, shortly after, Rick Allen, the drummer, he lost his arm from a car crash shortly after this album came out, which was really sad to hear, but he kept going. He remained part of the band and continued amazing us with his outstanding drumming skills. So now we're going to get down to the lyrics themselves of Foolin. I'm going to give you my take on them. Now just keep in mind, this is just my opinion, what I think the lyrics means. Your opinion might be different from mine, and that's okay. The beautiful thing about songs is they can be interpreted countless different ways. There's no right or wrong answers, so let's try to respect each other's opinions. So let's get started. I have the lyrics here on my tablet. Now the first part of the first verse says, "Lady Luck never smiles, so lend your love to me a while. Do with me what you will, break the spell, take your fill." So I think here it's talking about how someone is going through a troubled love life. They haven't had any steady relationships yet, and at this point they're willing to get their heart broken again just so they can feel that brief spark of intensity they get from having that connection with someone, no matter how long it lasts. They just want to experience that feeling. So the next part of verse 1 says, "On and on we rode the storm, the flame has died, the fire is gone. Oh, this empty bed is a night alone. I realized that long ago." So I think this part represents how they keep trying to work through their problems, the couple in the song. They're trying to sort out their differences and smooth things out, but eventually it gets to the point where they finally realize that there's no passion left in the relationship. They don't feel that bond with each other anymore, and they took a chance and got hurt again. And so when they talk about the flame has died and the fire is gone and the empty bed stuff, it's describing the pain that they went through with this broken relationship. So now we get to the chorus, which ramps things up quite a bit. It says, "Is anybody out there? Anybody there? Does anybody wonder? Anybody care? Oh, I just gotta know if you're really there and you really care. 'Cause baby, I'm not foolin'. Oh, foolin'. Not foolin'. Ah, foolin'." Sorry about that bad singing, but it's hard to resist singing along to this song, right? So I think the chorus really highlights how they feel completely alone, and they can't believe that nobody wants to pull them out of their depression, be their rock, and comfort them when things fall apart. They're not really sure who they can trust, but they want to find someone who will finally be loyal and not betray their trust or turn their back on them. They want to find someone that's actually worth fighting for and pursuing in a serious relationship. So now we get to verse 2, moving on. It says, "Won't you stay with me a while? Close your eyes, don't run and hide. easy love is no easy ride. Just waking up from what we had could stop good love from going bad. So I think this verse is all about begging your partner to stay with you. They notice the lack of intimacy or the connection that we talked about earlier, because making sacrifices for the wrong person almost always leads to regrets later on in life that you wish you could go back and change. But anyway, they're still holding out hope that maybe their soulmate will appear if they try hard enough. So then we go back to the chorus 2 more times. And then at the very end, it says, "I'm not fooling myself" a few times. And I think that represents a turning point where the person who got their heart broken is finally realizing that they're going to change their ways. They're done jumping into relationships just for the sake of having one. They're going to be more careful in the future about who they decide to be with and let down their walls for. So, since we've finished talking about the lyrics, let's talk about the mood a little bit. When you listen to this song, what kind of feelings do you get? Well, for me personally, when I listen to Foolin, you can hear the underlying sadness buried beneath the layers, along with some desperation, which builds up into the chorus. I think Joe Elliott does a fantastic job at letting his emotions really seep into the lyrics, which takes it to the next level. And then you also have the magnificent instrumental parts that help tie everything together, including the guitar part. I'm sure if you've heard the song, you're familiar with the dun 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 dun, that part. I think that highlights the mood really well, that sadness. Then, like I said earlier, with Mutt Lange stepping in, you can thank him for the top-notch production quality. He took this song above and beyond what it could have been. Then you have some themes in the song that I noticed, including heartbreak, obviously. There's also some trust issues going on. And then I think the biggest theme that you can pick out of the song is that human instinct that all of us have, no matter how much we want to deny it, for connection with someone. We're social creatures. We don't want to be alone. So I think that driving force can make us do things that we never imagined ourselves doing. Now, for the most memorable line of the song, I chose "Easy love is no easy ride." I think that line stands out the most because it shows where you have to be dedicated to a relationship and determined to make it work for both of you to have a strong bond with each other. So I think that line sums it up really well. Now let's go over some strengths and weaknesses of Foolin. Now a major strength is, of course, the relatability of the song, because it's talking about heartbreak, and everyone, no matter what your life has been like, has gone through heartbreak at some point. All of us understand how much that hurts, what it feels like to go through heartbreak. So I think that alone makes the song really moving when you listen to it. Then you have the imagery or the comparisons they make, break the spell, take your fill, this empty bed is a night alone, the flame has died and the fire is gone. All of that helps you visualize what's going on in the song. It gives it a deeper impact on you when you listen to it. So props to them for that. And then, as I alluded to earlier, you have the awesome delivery of the lyrics that the lead singer gave, which really echoes the mood and the message he's trying to get across. It makes you more immersed in the song. Now, no song is perfect, so it has to have a weakness. I spent a long time going through this song trying to find a weakness, and the only minor gripe I found was that the guitar solo went a little bit overboard to me. It was a little bit too upbeat, a little bit too wild. It felt like it didn't really fit in with the song that's supposed to be about heartbreak. It felt like it was kind of the opposite of what they wanted to portray, but it still sounded good, so you shouldn't pay too much attention to that or let it take away much from the song, because it's not that bad, honestly. And finally, what's the replayability of the song on a scale of 1 to 10? When you listen to this song, how often do you want to come back to it? So, I might be a little bit biased, but I'm going to give it 10 out of 10. Just for the sheer amount of touching this song does when you listen to it. I think when you listen to this song, it's going to bring up a lot of emotions in you. I think, like we said, the relatability makes this song worth listening to more than once, so I think you'll really enjoy it. So that does it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate the support. I'll see you next time. Until then, rock on.